morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. For Sky Omaha Radio. Hey, 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 hey. Time to get up, get your body moving. What's happening? Good morning, good morning, good morning. First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
There he is.
This thing on.
Hey, hey. Shout out 630 crew over there on the radio channel. Appreciate you getting up so early with us. Oh, some heads up in here too. What's going on?
Beeee.
Pop says, good Wednesday morning, my beautiful First Sky fam. Good morning to you, Pops. What's going on with you? All right. Wanda Lewis says, good morning. Good morning to you. Brother Valentine says, morning, fam. Wanda Lewis is giving us two good mornings. One from YouTube, one from Facebook. That's what's up. T. Ren says, good morning. This is Tanaya. Okay, that's what's up. We gotta get used to the new names over there on YouTube. Appreciate that.
I switched it up.
Josh Tate says, happy final hump day of the season, all. Josh knows what time it is.
Man.
What's going on? Laura Long says, hello, hello, hello. Good morning to you. Michelle Moreno says, good morning. Thanks you guys for joining us over there on the YouTube channel. Appreciate you. We definitely are going to direct people to the YouTube channel, but we will keep the Facebook one open as well because some of y'all want to stick there. It's all right. As long as we can have the conversations. That's what it's about. Buddy, you awake?
Man, I'm tired. Not gonna lie.
Tired, boss.
Yeah, so going through the articles, making sure I ain't missing nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing exciting in the articles?
We'll see.
Kind of a drab Wednesday.
A little bit.
Okay.
Looking forward to the ladies, though. I'll tell you that much.
That's right. Precious McKesson, Politicin with P. It's happening today. Also, Kimara Snipes. What's good in the hood?
Hey.
Amy Huffler says, hey, y'all, this has been the longest week. Well, it's only Wednesday. The week ain't even close to done yet. She says, but good morning. Good morning to you, too. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully things get better, I guess. Is that?
Yeah, so we're all kind of feeling a little bit like been a long week.
Well, that's if you believe in the concept of time. We'll be talking about that a little later on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I want to encourage everybody to read these particular articles that I was looking at, man. I was kind of intrigued by the whole concept of time. NPR's got a whole series on our concept. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. As you know, we'll be anticipating our special guest this morning. And I was good morning, Brianna Full. I'm glad you're in. Definitely wanted to see your name pop up this morning. We got some some things to talk about here with the big news that's happened yesterday. So definitely a lot to talk about today, and we really appreciate everybody this joining us this early in the morning. Shout out to the radio crew over there, 630 crew. Let us know how the mix was. And if you ever want to check that out, that's firstskyOmaha.com. Hit the listen button.
Hey.
Listen button at the top. Hit that. Check out some things. In the meantime, here we are, man. 2 days away from the break. So
talk about the concept of time.
Man, yeah, kind of came on us pretty fast there, actually.
Yeah, it did. It seems like every season does that. Just zooms on by, man.
Yeah. Yep, I'm afraid so. But that's the nature of the thing, I guess, man. You know, time slows down, speeds up, does all kinds of things.
Man, just moves on you. But I'm definitely appreciative of everybody who's been moving with us throughout this time. Again, now 2 years into the thing of preparing for year 3, season 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty exciting. Again, um, looking forward to the changes coming into the new year. New, most likely a new website. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I do like the fact that we're going to be changing up some things, tightening up some things, making it so that we got more news coming out, more chance for discussions, a little bit more exposure next year. So it's good. It's good. I feel like the chat chimers and the Friends of First Sky Omaha core group that's coming with us everywhere. We'll always have discussions with you guys. So that we can kind of decipher what's going on in the news, read between the lines, all that good stuff, and take it to the people. Have more people hearing what we have to say. That's what this is all about. So that's what's up. Gwen Easter says, "Good morning. Good morning to you. Appreciate you coming on through." If you're on Facebook, do us a favor, share the show. If you're on YouTube, share the show as well. Let your friends and family know what's going on here. Anybody who you think would be good to join the discussion is a good person to share the show with, and have them come in, and we can get as many voices on things as we can. So that's what's
Man.
up.
I think back to like some of the people that were calling in towards the end of the Minus Soul days. Like anybody, we still ain't found Brother Sherman from the post office.
Oh, I found him.
Okay.
I found him. I
Oh
went
man.
to the post office. It turns out he's in the Benson post office. So I went to the
Okay.
post office, and I walked up. I said something to somebody. He turned around and looked. He was like, "I remember that voice. I know that voice anywhere." And I was like, "Who? How do you know my voice?" He said, "I'm Sherman from the post office."
Oh man. In the post office.
In the post office. Don't look, 'cause you know how people in radio are. You don't look nothing like I thought you looked. You look
Yeah,
like a totally
yeah.
different brother. But yeah, man, I would have never guessed. But yeah, man, found him. But yeah, I was thinking about that too. The people that were calling in. Michelle Trosclair was using her phone to live stream like the last days of Mind and Soul. Yeah, that's interesting. I often
Man.
every once in a while I go back, man, and try to holler at somebody like, "What's going on with the radio? What you guys trying to do? Still off air? What's happening? You want to get back rolling? You ready?
Man. So yeah, definitely love the support that we still receive, and it is nice to get that love in the community, and to see that we're making an impact, still doing the thing, man. So big shout out to y'all for assisting us in doing this. And as always, man, we're here for another day. Let your mind be free, let your voice be heard.
Yep.
As always, tell a friend to tell a friend to come on through and join the conversation. Before we get into the topics of the day, how you doing this morning, Paul? What's going on with you, man?
Man, I'm all right, man. Hanging in there. Definitely anticipating this break coming up.
Yes,
Got some
sir.
stuff I need to dive into, and I can't really dive into it. Tech stuff especially. This program has been giving us the blues. So it's not like I can take it down, dismantle, and fix and do things if we got a show coming up day after tomorrow. So looking forward to the break to be able to dive into some of these things that I needed. I wanted us to tighten up on, and also looking forward to next season. Man, we're already talking
Hmm.
to a couple folks about some additions. We're gonna have some more segments coming from some more people in the community. I'm really looking forward to working on that with everybody. So we'll have some documenters reports going on and all kinds of stuff by next season. So just actually really looking forward to next season. We talk about having a break, but we don't really take a break. We're working all through the breaks, not really a break.
No rest for the weary.
So, but yeah, everything that's what we're talking about launching and stuff next season is really I'm excited about the new website. The tightening up of the business. We'll be doing some advertising at that point too. So
Yeah.
finding different revenue streams in order to keep this thing rolling. So yeah, just kind of my mind's already there.
Yeah. And we're still working on this channel in the background. For those of you who've been paying attention over the last couple of years, we've been, dropping nuggets and talking about this channel. But it takes time to develop it the way that we actually want to develop it. And we're still, open for any content. If there's any creators, any podcasts, anything that y'all like to watch, that's a local podcast or some people in the community doing some other content, we love to hear about it. It's not, we're not just worried about us, man. We love to see creators create and do the thing, and we understand that we're only two people. We can only cover so much and talk about so much. So definitely love to hear what other people have going on out there. So if you have any ideas, feel free to drop it on us. Let us know what's going on, in different corners of the community.
There you go.
Yeah, man. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the thing. Just about 10 minutes into the hour. We're here for the next 2 hours. As Paul mentioned, we do have our special guest. It is Women's Wednesday here on this hump day, expecting Precious McKesson and Sister Kimara Snipes to come through and speak with us. So looking forward to that. But also several topics. Definitely would love to hear, speaking of the sisters, about everyone's thoughts on the resigning of Dr. Cheryl Logan. Puts some respect on her name, the former now, I guess, superintendent of OPS. Again, Logan came to Omaha in 2018 from Philadelphia, and in a statement, which we'll actually read through a little later on, she mentioned that she does, plan to go back home. So definitely talk about that. And also shout out to the Grill. They have a pretty interesting article about Black leadership. So we'll talk about that again. Sister Logan was indeed a sister. Again, coming straight out of Philadelphia. It was nice to see a woman, quote unquote, of color in a leadership position in Omaha. But again, what type of leadership should we expect from our quote unquote Black leaders? Is them being Black enough? So yeah, we'll talk about that.
Who are they? Is the question too.
Man, that's another question. So definitely talk about that. Also, speaking of leadership, there will be a change of leadership in Nebraska's Children and Family Services as Pillen again continues to hit the ground running after his gubernatorial victory, and he will now look to replace Nebraska's directors for Children and Family Services and Behavioral Health. So we'll kind of get into that conversation. I think it is very important to watch out for that, especially all of the investment, all the money that's going into these mental health facilities, and of course, taking in consideration the St. Francis Ministries contract and all of the hoopla surrounding Nebraska's handling of its child welfare cases. So yeah, we'll definitely look into that situation and what Pillen plans to do with that area of the state. Also looking at some COVID things, as we mentioned, NPR recently released an article looking at how COVID has impacted our sense of time. Again, we often say quite jokingly here on the show, if you believe in the concept of time, but do you believe in the concept of time? Again, we'll talk about that and our perception of it. A very, very interesting conversation. So again, big shout out to NPR, always dropping the good articles for us to dive into. And then also, did you receive an email about your student loan forgiveness application? Again, there was that situation from Biden administration who did post the website, and it was open for a window, and millions of people actually did apply for their student loans to be forgiven. But lo and behold, Nebraska and several other states decided to sue the Biden administration, putting all that on hold. Yet people are still receiving emails that their student loans have been forgiven. So we'll talk exactly about what that's about. And definitely love to hear about some people who did receive those emails. Again, if that was one of you, just like to hear what did the email say? How did you feel? What do you think? And yeah. Again, let your mind be free. Let your voice be heard. Of course, as always, if there's anything that we're not talking about, if we're missing a mark, of course, definitely would love to hear anyone who was at that city council meeting. We'll be diving into that as well. City council finally approved that housing plan, which will now be going into the city's master plan. But exactly what does that mean? What does that look like? All of those things will be discussed again in the next 2 hours. So as I mentioned, let your mind be free. Most importantly, let your voice be heard. Chime into the chat. Tell a friend to come on through. Grab a seat. We're about to get started. Again, this is First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you. Let's go.
Good morning. What up? Good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
Paul,
Wow. we went kind of R&B ish with that little slow jam on it.
A little bit.
In the morning,
I'm down here in Atlanta, man. Babyface, come on,
chopped and screwed our whole little thing.
get my escape on.
Thanks for joining us, Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, all of you ghost listeners. Do us a favor and share the show. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Let's get as many people in talking about these subjects as we can. And there's some updates and some good stuff that we can talk about today for sure. So we appreciate you joining us. If you miss any parts of the show, you can always go back to YouTube and also Facebook and we'll rewatch the whole thing in its entirety. And if you don't share it this morning, you can share it then as well, so we can get the word out as much as we can. Shout out to everybody that's joining us this morning as well. We definitely only have 2 days left before the end of this season, so we're definitely going to try to get some things in, and we're working on some powerhouse guests for Friday, and so on and so forth. Lots to definitely talk about still, and of course, when we're on the break, we can still have conversations through friends of First Sky Omaha, where it is that we have been getting a lot of the news thanks to you, chat chimers and friends of First Sky Omaha. Really appreciate you guys putting things on that page, letting us know what it is you want to talk about. So, and I also really appreciate the network of people that we have too. As soon as that news about Dr. Cheryl Logan, put some respect on her name, dropped, all of a sudden everybody was texting each other, and I talked to about 20, 30 people yesterday that was hitting us with the news and so on. And then of course you guys put that stuff in Friends of First Sky Omaha too. So certain things that happen in Omaha, we feels like we're getting the news really quickly, almost first sometimes. What's up? Team Ren in the house says, "Yep, got the email. It basically said sorry, but the loan portion won't be forgiven unless the appeal fails." So we've all gotten that email as well, but this is a whole different email. This is the email that people got that said your loan has been approved, or your help has been approved. You no longer owe. I don't know how that letter slipped out because maybe they had them ready. Who knows? We'll find out when we get to the article. But very, very crazy stuff happening. Also with Dr. Cheryl Logan, Wanda Lewis says she'll stay in place until June.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll definitely get to talking about that subject as well. But don't forget, hang tight with us. We got Precious McKesson, Politicin with P is happening on this session, and also Kimara Snipes was good in the hood. She will be on as well, and we'll be talking about a few things today. So in the meantime, between time, what's on the agenda, buddy? What's going on with you?
Man, well, again, we are at the tail end of season 4, whose theme was following the money, following the bag. And again, we spent a lot of the time of the season just tracking and paying attention to, public investment. What are happening with our tax dollars and what's going on with the latest tax increment financing project and all this, that, and the third. So we'll continue with that track and look at what has recently happened with the city's housing affordability action plan. It was recently approved through a 5-2 vote by city council after another week of again testimony and just words from the public. So again, shout out to the council for at least allowing another week and giving time for everyone. Giving time for everyone to speak their piece and have their voices heard. But again, now this approval means that an actual plan, a laid out plan, will go on the city council or the city's master plan, and it is a pretty comprehensive plan. I spent some time before the show looking through it. There are a few things that are laid out, kind of strategies and goals that they'll like to address with this plan. And one of them, of course, is something that I'm sure a lot of us would like to hear, but also have more questions about in regards to the use of the Omaha Land Bank. It does say that one of the goals is to foster more housing innovation at lower costs. And one of the strategies to do that is, again, that says the city should consider transferring lots to the Omaha Municipal Land Bank, who already has a majority of lots, especially in the East Omaha area, under their control. So again, we'll definitely continue to look at the Omaha Land Bank and should talk more about that as far as who's on it, what does it entail, and how are they getting properties and who are they getting properties to? Is it, again, from what we've talked about and what we looked at, is mostly nonprofits like your Holy Names, Habitat for Humanity, again, a lot of those lots. But what about your average everyday person? What about the single family who's trying to get a leg up and get some ownership in the community? how much access do they have? So we'll continue to look at that situation. Also, speaking of access, who has access to these tax increment financing projects? Again, there are some barriers into who exactly can get TIF. Can they, afford their or uphold their end of the project? What are some of the stipulations in TIF? And there will be apparently some changes with that in regards to this plan. Um, Yes, it says the tax increment financing is one of the few local financing tools for the development of housing. One of the changes will be requiring a percentage of affordable units or a payment in lieu of affordable units for projects that are requesting TIF financing. And they will also expedite projects that have housing products that add variety to the market. Again, we continue talking about this missing middle situation where there's it seems like either single family households that you can't really afford, or these mixed use apartments. There's no like duplexes or triplexes or anything in the middle. You kind of just have those two options, which leave a lot of people with no option. So again, we'll post a link for this affordable plan for anyone who would like to see it. There is an actual plan that you can actually refer to and hold people accountable for. But yeah, what are our thoughts? And expectations from this plan, really?
That's a good question. Just so I can clarify a little bit, did I hear that TIF dollars could be used for individual, like family home investments too? I thought it was they were mostly for nonprofits, or I mean not nonprofits but development companies.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's for developments, but again, those developments have to include a certain percentage of affordable housing units, like the Spencer Housing Projects project that again, it is reported that they will have, I'm not sure the exact percentage, but it's like 30%, let's say, of the units are set to be affordable housing. And again, according to this plan, they are sticking with the um definition that affordable housing is 30%, like no one's spending more than 30% of their income for the housing, including utilities.
okay, so that I kind of got to look into that a little bit deeper then, because if that's a stipulation for using TIF dollars, and we got a whole TIF alley,
Hmm.
then it seems to me like everything that's been built with all this TIF money, if there's affordable housing that's supposed to be attached to that stipulation, it should be affordable housing everywhere. With all the stuff that's been going up with TIF dollars just over the course of the last year, and so I'm wondering what's up there. And now this thing has been approved, and now they're saying that they're gonna now there has to be a certain amount of affordable housings being built. And then I'm also trying to find out, like, at what, over what period of time we need affordable housing now. And I know that they're talking about having it later, that they're having it built by a certain time, years in the future. So I'm kind of like, what was the plan before? I don't know if they had a plan before, or what, or just what were they doing? What was up before? Did these stipulations change after all this stuff got built? Like, not really. I'm kind of, that's just my questions about it. Like, I'm kind of wondering that what that is, if it's already been implemented. Is that what happened in Highlander? Like, have they been doing, some of them been doing this already? I don't know
I
what's the deal.
I think like for instance the Highlander situation, I forget the name of the company, but there's a company that's actually does a lot of work here in Atlanta, as far as developing different types of projects and different Highlander types of units and developments throughout the country. So I think that is a method and a strategy that that company itself was using that found its way to be implemented in the Omaha area. And now the city itself is looking at it like, hey, maybe we could take some of these things and actually put this on the books, put this in our ordinances, put this and in actual black and white, on actual paper.
Right.
So I think it is kind of that, like there are already some projects that are using these types of stipulations and this type of approach for TIF, but now it's becoming a thing where now it's going to be required for you to get a TIF, project. I like, for instance, the Crossroads project that's using TIF. I don't think that those stipulations are put on that project. But
Mm,
who's to say that future projects like that won't have those stipulations?
I don't know, man. That's. I mean, yeah, you're. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and that sounds real. I don't know. In the chat, Wanda Lewis is giving us some information. She says at one time it had to be a project over 500,000. However, it's been lowered to $250,000 projects for developers and nonprofits. Anyone can become a developer with financial backing.
Yep.
So again, where is all the affordable housing then? Even I mean, we all the projects that we have been talking about that use TIF dollars were over 500,000. So where, you know, I'm not sure. Gwen Easter said, to my understanding, $500,000 project before you are even considered for TIF is what stated in the meeting I attended with City Omaha staff. Right. So it was 500,000. Wanda Lewis saying it was lowered to 250,000. But again, what does that? What does all that mean? So okay. So we're talking about what kind of project you got to have that has TIF dollars, but is all those things you know, if they qualify, then they have to build affordable housing too, or is this project by project? Ghost Listener 402 says is saying it best right now. This is where community groups should be helping us understand. I'm confused. Yeah, Ghost Listener 402 says, look at all the new companies created for 75 North TIF projects. Right. Um, I know a couple of organizations that got TIF money. It has nothing to do with housing. Maybe it has to do with only if they're housing projects, if they're development housing projects, that
Mm-hmm.
they have a certain amount of that. Because so what's the stipulations for like tearing down the library and putting that skyscraper up and using TIF dollars? What you know?
Well, it also has to deal with zoning.
Mm,
Which that's in the plan too. It is discussed how the city zones and changing zoning and allowing certain types of dwellings to be built in certain zonings that aren't allowed right now. Um, so I mean, it's a pretty extensive like plan. It's not just a TIF, and I think a lot of these um strategies and goals kind of intertwine. Um, and to go back to Tiff in regards to the price or the cost of some projects, I think it shouldn't be looked over, or I feel like it is a good thing that they did lower the price from 500,000 to $250,000 for Tiff. Because to answer your question, as far as can Tiff be used for a single family household, uh, according to this plan, the median cost for a new construction for a single family house is 375,000.
okay.
So that falls within that 250. It's under the 500,000 mark. So without that change, you can't qualify. But now that it's lowered to 250,000, a $375,000 new build single family home may qualify for TIF now.
Okay. Is that considered a development? One home? Um, questions. Wanda in the chat says developers can contract the work out to be certified contractors. They don't have to be knowledgeable in the craft of the building. However, they do have to be good with numbers, budget, cost, codes, and time conscious.
Yep.
Uh, Tanaya says the project that got axed for the apartment building set to go up on 38th and Dodge. Only about 10% of the units were supposed to be below market rate. Yeah, I think that's
Mm.
that's probably gonna happen for all those kinds of units. You were saying it's either, there's nothing in between, family home and then big apartment complexes and, nothing in between. So those apartment complexes are the ones that's gonna have a small amount. And then also, Tuff Anderson says one of the points that is being overlooked, what is the clear definition of affordable housing? Amy Huffley says it wasn't a requirement for it to be affordable housing, at least before. There are TIF projects that are not housing at all. True. So we're talking about projects that are housing related. They
Mm-hmm.
have to they have to have affordable housing. And what is affordable housing? They're saying no more than 30% of your income. So it's some kind of sliding scales or a set amount.
I feel like it's a sliding scale. Isn't that how the Highlander is being handled? It's a sliding scale. Some people are paying one rent, others are paying a different rent for the same units, or to be next door neighbors.
Right. Brianna Full says there are currently no requirements on having affordable housing units for development that uses TIF. There are recommendations in the new housing plan to add requirements to using TIF for housing.
There you go.
So this is not even there yet. Um, Amy Huffa says, right, tough. We have low income housing apartments and some of the rules are tough. Your income has to be double what your rent is. If you're just below that, there aren't a lot of options, if any.
Yeah.
Okay. Wanda Lewis says to get TIF, the city most likely won't approve anything other than multifamily housing. Okay, there you go. That's the question I'm wanting to know. Can I get some TIF dollars to build a home, to build a single family home? Probably not. It'll probably be multifamily housing
Hmm.
that happens too. So investment. So, properties where you're buying stuff for other people to live in, not just for your home, but for other people to live in, and you're charging rent or whatever. So these are development projects here, and
Yep.
that might be a issue too.
Mm.
If you're a small developer, which a lot of developers in North and South Omaha are, and they got maybe a ten room complex or something like that, and however many percentage has to be affordable, that might hurt business. You know what I'm saying? For them to put those stipulations on that. But then again, what's happening in our city more than that is these big developers coming in from out of town and doing these big apartment complexes in areas that had housing there already that they displaced people. So, first of all, bring those folks back, and then second of all, make there needs to be affordable housing within that situation.
Hmm.
So, yeah, lots to still understand about this, and we're always talking about that. What's affordable and what's going on at the market? I mean, we all have personal stories about going out trying to find housing over the last 2 or 3 years and what that actually looks like, and if you qualify for certain stuff, or if there's even anything available, or if it's either you're way too much for a house, or you're looking at a new apartment complex and there's way too much for apartment rentals. I mean, we all have this. So you know what the solution here, it's got to be more clear than it is, and it needs to happen faster. That's my that's my soapbox on it. Uh, Brianna Full says, "I wonder if you go and build three single family homes at 200K each, would you qualify? By the current rules, you should be able to. Yes, but then how are you going to survive on not being able to charge market rate because a percentage of your three homes has to be affordable according to their formula?
Yeah. Well,
What's the
that's
routine?
they're talking about partnering with financial institutions to address that as well. It says developers noted several challenges with financing mixed income projects. This includes how the rental income is calculated and perception that market rate will be harder to lease. Working with partners like the banking community, these issues will need to be resolved. It says Section 542C also enables HUD and state local housing finance agencies to provide risk sharing arrangements on multifamily loans. So they are talking about addressing that through loans and low interest situations.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. I mean, definitely got to keep on talking about that for sure.
Yeah. Again, it's a pretty it's about 147 pages on this whole plan, and it's pretty laid out as far as their goals, some of the strategies, whether or not the strategies will work. That's I think for some of that's to be unseen, but definitely worth looking through if you're interested in the topic.
For sure. That's what's up. Getting a text right now from Precious that our code's not going through. So let me go ahead and get her over this code again, and get to bringing her on. But yeah, we can take a look at this and move on to those different. I really like the fact that we're kind of digging into this topic here because it's one that we keep talking about and need to figure out. There's a plan in place. We need to understand it. We need to see how that's going to work for us and work for our loved ones looking for housing, and also the other ones of us that are looking to invest and
Mhm.
try to be a part of that economy. Is we got to figure these things out.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No, that's important. As we know, owning land, owning property, owning your own home. These are still some of the main ways to build generational wealth in this country. And as we talk about following the bag, as we talk about securing our own assets, securing our own future, space is still the place, man. We're still looking for ways to secure our own spaces, secure our own communities, and this is a way to do so. So not understanding this means missing out on opportunities, which we don't want for any of us. So again, we can definitely continue to talk about the situation, what exactly its adoption into the city's master plan means, especially for those of us in the community who are looking to own a house. So again, definitely continue to look out for that, and we'll post this link for this plan in the chat or on Friends of First Sky Omaha. So yeah, look out for that. But moving forward, man, we'll continue to talk about Omaha City Council. Again, I would love to hear from anyone who was at the City Council meeting recently. Just on Tuesday, also, City Council decided to approve the $440 million bond on the city's new development and what we're calling Tiff Alley. Talking about this streetcar project that has been surrounding some controversy. Again, a lot of questions on how it will be paid and who will pay for it. And apparently, Omaha Mayor Gene Stothert is vowing that the streetcar will not use taxpayer dollars, although it looks like that actually may be the case. $80 million of the bonds are lease purchase bonds and will be backed by the taxpayers. So there's that portion. And the city is also implementing a creative use of TIF to fund the project, the new development. Speaking of TIF, within 3 blocks of the streetcar line in the city's urban core, the streetcar is planned to largely go along Farnham Street from Midtown to downtown. And council member Amy Melton cited statistics from the city and argued that the Mutual of Omaha moving downtown is already guaranteed development and likely much more to come. She actually doesn't believe taxpayers will be on the hook for this, saying $80 million will be covered by the TIF loans and the developers, because I firmly believe we will have development in downtown Omaha and it's not going to stop. The council passed the bond 6-1. The council member Juanita Johnson is the lone vote on no. So I actually, okay. Is she listening?
She meets with her constituencies regularly.
Okay. So again, Councilwoman Juanita Johnson, the lone vote. Of course, that single vote is not enough for it to stop, as it has now passed, and the $80 million bonds will likely be used to buy the cars and maintenance facility. That's according to Finance Director Steve Curtis. He says the city is using those because it'll save taxpayer money due to a better interest rate for the city. Another major hurdle in this issue of passing the bonds, of course, was the MUD conversation about the utilities in that area and whether or not they will need to be replaced frequently. Again, MUD says the gas and water rates will go up if the streetcar is built. However, at the meeting, MUD and the city said they're going to keep working together in good faith to help minimize costs and possibly not raise rates at all. So we'll see if they can come to a conclusion or some solution for this issue as far as city utility maintenance in the area. But yeah, by all means, it looks like this is going to come to fruition. The mayor is going to get her Tiff Alley and all this. Again, the streetcar, the metro building, not metro, but metro
Buses.
mutual, not metro, mutual of Omaha. That building is all going to bring in again more business. So is this going to turn into some thriving urban core as far as the downtown and midtown Tiff Alley? We'll see.
Wonder how much Mutual of Omaha has to do with this thing happening, because I know that Midtown is floundering a little bit. There's other parts of the city that are doing way better financially. It's kind of a little bit of a ghost town in there right now. So they're trying to get us. I wonder how much they had in hand in getting the streetcar up to the Midtown area. Anyway, T Ren says streetcar to nowhere. That's quite the name of it. Let's go ahead and table this discussion here a little bit from this, because we have our special guest in the house. We'll bring her in and talk a little bit about some of these things as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Precious McKesson, put some respect on her name. Good morning to you. Good morning. How are you? Can you hear
Good
us?
morning. Good morning. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm
Oh,
just trying
good.
to read an email. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm sorry about the. I don't know what's going on with the code there. So I'm glad you got in. But how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you? How are y'all
Tired,
doing?
boss. I'm
Yeah,
tired.
tired. But you got to do the thing. I'm sure you know all about that. Definitely appreciate you for teaming up with us this morning. You still in Puerto Rico? You back in the
No, I'm
states
back
or
home. Nope, I'm back in the
okay?
States. I'm back home. Back
Yeah,
on the
so
mainland.
you don't see no beach around. You know,
Yeah, she didn't hit us from the beach side with the palm trees. So I
she got
guess back inside.
she had the bikini on, everything. Now she got the
I
sweater
ain't no
on.
bikini. I ain't no bikini on there. I don't do that. I bathing suit on. All that now.
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah. But she got the
but
sweater on now. You know she back home.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. That part. But again, glad you're able to do that, and hopefully, you got a lot done. I know you were there with Democratic leadership, so it was some work and
Yeah.
some play. So yeah. Hopefully, you got a lot done with that. What's new though? Now that you're back in the States, where's your mind at? What's how,
So right now, I mean, what's new is that politics do not end. So you think you get a break in between. So right now, we're doing a lot of debriefing for the end of what happened in the midterm, and then not only that, we're starting to do candidate recruitment for excuse me, for 2024, and then we're also working on the 2023 election for Lincoln Municipal. So we have a mayor's race in Lincoln, and so just getting prepared for that and looking at what the coordinated campaign looks like. What does it look like with hiring staff? But then also taking tons of meetings with donors, with supporters, with people who want to give input. Yesterday we started a series called Cocoa and Cookies, kind of just like a town hall session. We had the first one was in Lincoln at the Jane Schneider Trail, so that was last night. And then tonight we will be at Control Coffee on South 10th Street. And don't quote me on the time. I think it's from 5:30 to 7:30, or 5:30, no, 5:30 to 7. And so we'll be there, where we'll talk. Supporters will come in. People who want to just voice their opinion about what happened. It's very cordial. We had a really good time last night, and just talked about things that we should be doing as a Democratic Party, statewide, and what we should be in, what the national. But again, what we should be doing statewide, and looking at, and we had some really good feedback last night. I was really impressed with the feedback. A lot of it has been what we've been talking about since the midterm ended. And one of the main things was, how do we get people to run so we don't have empty slots on the ballot? And I think when we talk about that, we have to look at the overall picture. We were looking at, quality. You just don't want to throw somebody on the ballot and then they take down the other candidates if they're not a quality candidate. So you have to look at that, because that does reflect on other candidates who are running. If you have a bad apple, and then it basically lumps you in with that. So just making sure that we're doing good vetting, good quality recruitment for candidates, and making sure just not taking the first yes because somebody, even though we can't control who wants to be on the ballot, but we definitely can try to make sure that they're a good fit. And so just talking about how that looked, and people didn't understand. Like, I mean, for me, for instance, I use myself as an example all the time. I had always wanted, I said had wanted to run for Secretary of State. But as you start to look in the midterm and you look to see who's pouring money into these elections, as a Black woman, I knew right then and there that there was no way that I was going to be able to go up against Ricketts' millions and millions of dollars and all the money that him and others were going to throw into that race. So why would I set myself up to get slaughtered by, number one, negative mail pieces, as well as by somebody's money, knowing that they're not pouring money into candidates that look like me, especially for a race that they are automatically going to say, hey, you know what, Pete Ricketts is going to put money into that race. So you got to just be smart about it. And so that's why you did see a empty slot in certain spots, because people are like, we know what we're up against. And so I just use myself as a personal example. That's why I did not run, because I was not going to sacrifice myself for anybody to be put up against Pete Ricketts' money, knowing that we don't have the Black and brown women don't have the support base like our counterparts.
Is there a way to combat that? Is there an alternative, or is it just dollar for dollar? You just got to go head to head.
I mean, you can do it, but you just have to really you have to invest. But when you're talking about statewide, you have to get into that congressional district 3, because I don't know if people I might just have to send the map one day to you guys to see how big congressional district 3 is, because remember, everything is evenly the 3 districts are basically evenly balanced according to where the people live. So in Nebraska, I mean, we have 99 counties, or 98 counties, 98 or 99 counties, but then you have in Sarpy, just imagine this, in Sarpy County alone, I mean, in Douglas County CD2, there's only 3 counties: Douglas, Saunders, and parts of Sarpy. Then in Lincoln, you have maybe 3 or 4 counties, and then the rest of the counties in the state are all CD3. So just imagine, that means that you're having to go to almost 90 something counties in one congressional district that is basically rural, and trying to get that vote. And that's where you see the big the shift is in that CD3. So just imagine running for Secretary of State. If you don't have the funds, you can get the big cities, the big counties. You can work hard in Lincoln or CD1 and CD2, but CD3 is where you get killed because you don't have that reach. So I mean, and everyone's like, how do you garner more financial support? We need people donating to campaigns. That's how you garner. It takes people to help you win campaigns, and we don't have big donors big donors who are investing big money, like millions of dollars, even though we have big donors we have millionaires in our state that are Democrats, but they're not investing in campaigns.
I mean, as finance director, you served finance director for a little time, right?
I still do.
Okay, okay, just a little bit more on your plate, just a little bit more. So as far as finance, strategies, are there any strategies that you feel like the Democratic Party has not tapped, or are you not getting creative enough? Finance, like what financial raising strategies?
I mean, I won't give up our
right.
what we do, but I mean, we have a monthly donor program where people are monthly donors to the party. We also have some national money that we get from the national party. There's different letters that we send out to big donors. I mean, we have some big donors that are on a national level that give. It's just like, how do we, once we hire a full-time finance person or a fundraiser, how do we tap into those people to where we can start bringing in bigger dollars to be able to overall help the infrastructure and help build more. Now, when it comes to candidates, we don't give money directly to candidates as a party. We do wraparound services, like we do the vote by mails that get people out to vote. We do that infrastructure part, but us actually giving to candidates, we don't give money to candidates to run campaigns. That's where your national organizations would come in and specifically like endorse a candidate. We want to make sure that we're able to get the vote out so that people have access, and then the candidates have to do a little bit more of the extra work because they do their call time too. So there's a thing that we call call time that everybody hates. I mean, I hate it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, and I know any candidate will tell you they don't like call time, especially if you're running a federal or a statewide race, because what you're doing, you're calling people, asking them for money. And so in the beginning of your campaign, you spend a lot of that time doing call time to raise money, and then you have to incorporate the actual door knocking and really campaigning to get your supporters out to make sure they're voting. It's a lot to it, y'all.
No, it is. But I'm just
basically like back in the day, if you work for West Telemarketing, then you might be good for that job to call and ask for them dollars. So that's one advantage that Nebraskans have. A lot of us have gotten that training.
Yes.
But it is a thing that, like I said, I can understand you saying what you're saying about hating doing it. I mean, it's hard to ask people for dollars anyway. Amy helped us in the chat, said there's but even if there's a ton of money there, what can we do to not have empty slots?
I mean, it just takes somebody who wants to put their name in it, but then that person has to has to pay the filing fee. So I mean, it's just, but the thing is, going forward, we don't want empty spots, and that's the goal, and that's to make sure that we're recruiting good candidates and making sure that we're recruiting candidates to go into those slots. And so just know we hear y'all. I mean, we've heard so much so far, like since the election ended. Different things like, okay, why don't we have judges? Why aren't we talking about the judges? And then, a lot of people like down south, you see where the judges campaign. Any state I've ever been in, like going to Arkansas, Georgia, Maryland, Alabama, down south, for some reason, the judges actually campaign. Mm-hmm. But for some reason here in Nebraska, our judges don't campaign. So we're trying to figure out how do we now incorporate to make sure that when we do our slate cards, that we give y'all a way to be able to access the Nebraska Bar Association page so that you can be able to go and look at the ratings. So, because that was a big question this year during the election was, what about the judges? What about the judges? Like, I don't know about the judges. So we're listening. So now we need to figure out, we need to incorporate a QR code or something so that people have access to those and be able to look those judges up.
Okay. As far as the recruiting, we've talked about like pipelines. Is there a pipeline or as far as like engaging youth and students to prepare them to, to run in the future? What does that look like?
Well, within the school system is really hard because number one, the schools have to remain, they try to remain, neutral. So whenever you're going into schools talking about that or do anything, the schools have to bring in both parties, or say all three parties, independents, Republicans, Democrats. Mm-hmm. I think also maybe we do need to do something more where we're creating like outside groups, which I will say, like what Jakeem did when they did the oh my gosh, I don't want to destroy. Remember after the protests, they created those schools to train people. So we need more stuff like that, more individual groups who are able to do that, to say, hey, this is what you look for when you run for office, and making sure we do that. It's just a lot, they do have different groups in the school, like young Democrats, young Republicans. The schools choose to have those organizations, kind of like having student council. So the schools are able to choose that. It's just us tapping in, or not just specifically the Democratic Party, which we can, but our young Democrats. We have a young Democrats that touch the youth, like I think they're like 18 to 35 is considered a young Democrat. So we're talking about how do we get the young Democrats more involved, especially with the high schools, and seeing what groups there are in the high schools and reaching out to those high schools, because the Republicans are doing a job where they are heavily recruiting within the schools. But also we got to remember too, the schools that they're recruiting. You look at the schools that they're at. Just look at, I'm not saying not to dog anybody, but look at the parents. Look at, so yeah.
Interesting. You're talking a little bit about strategy, and there's a question in the chat too. Ghost Listener 402 is saying, with so many groups getting the vote out, could Dem strategy change for Nebraska? And also along with that question, who pays for things like mailers and commercials?
Yes.
Yep.
So with so many groups getting involved, it can change. But again, it doesn't take, the outside groups are doing a hell of a job. I want to make sure that we give them all kudos, because those groups are really out here. But we also got to talk about our elected officials. I mean, if you're an elected official, you should be working year round to make sure that you are not only talking about what's going on in your office, but also making sure you're encouraging people to register to vote and to get the vote out. Just don't show up when it's time. And this is for any elected official. I'm not saying Democrats, Republicans. This is for any elected official. Right. You should be using your platform to making sure that people are getting out the vote, especially during an off season. So in a midterm, yes, you should see people who aren't on the ballot really encouraging people to go out to vote. That's how you win elections, and that's how we really see a larger number. And so we have to make sure that we're having those conversations. Like, just because you're not on the ballot, that don't mean you're off work. Like, you have other candidates who are running, and you should be amplifying their voices. And then we should all be working together to making sure that we're like basically teaming up to make sure we're increasing the Dem strategy and the Dem vote. And then mailers and the commercials. So you have a lot of outside groups that will come in, like national organizations that will come in and do commercials on behalf of the candidate, but it's not endorsed by the candidate. It's basically against opposing the other candidate. For the mailers, we send out the mailers. Again, it's money that's being raised. And then some of them you'll see they'll see paid for by the Nebraska Democratic Party. But again, it's money that's raised to be able to mail that through our program. And then so it's money that has to be raised. So just know it's not just us just like, oh, just throw these out there, but it's a lot of money that are raised by the candidates and are raised to be able to see, for them to do their mailing. So the candidates do their mailing, the Nebraska Democratic Party does mailing. Commercials are done. There's candidates who pour money into, a lot of candidates put money into their own campaign to be able to run those things. So a lot of the stuff is done either from outside groups or from the national party. And normally those are done to oppose the opposite candidate.
There's a question. Ghost Listener 402 says, can ministerial alliances or ministry groups campaign? It makes me think about how the church was a huge factor, especially back in the day, with getting people mobilized that way. Is that still the case?
I mean, it is. I mean, we have a good relationship with the local pastors here. It's taken the time to rebuild that relationship. I'm not going to say it was it's a perfect relationship, but I've been, since I've been here since 18, I feel like we've rebuilt that relationship and continue to build it. They can. Sometimes churches don't want to, because some of them are 501c3s, depending on which church it is. So sometimes it would be hard for them to endorse a candidate. But they do host forums. They do host different things. And that's why we say the church is a big source, a resource for us in making sure that we're getting information to them. Something I always do with Pastor Cabot, since she is over the Ministers Alliance during the 2020 campaign, I used to send her all the stuff from the faith-based, from the Biden campaign. And then I would send that to her, and then she would disseminate it to the other pastors. And so I normally try to, if there's something that comes in for the churches that are coming from the DNC or faith-based, I'll either send it to her or to Pastor Janet Banks, and making sure that information gets out to different pastors.
Okay, shout out to Pastor P.
Wondering about that, what how Pastor P was mixed in there.
Yeah, she's making moves. Brianna Fool's in the chat with a good question. She says, why aren't there more progressive PACs in Nebraska? There are a ton of conservative ones at the local level. I know we've reported on the Herbster PAC and the Pillen PAC recently. So why don't we see more progressive PACs?
A couple of white PACs right there.
I guess it just takes somebody to form it. I mean, I know that there's been a few people that have looked at how to bring other PACs, in specifically based on women of color, a PAC for just women of color, and just really targeting. Because I mean, again, we do see that. So it just takes somebody to do it, Bree. I mean, I know I see it too, but it's like who want, and then not only that, it's like we want to make sure that people need to invest in these. Once they get these up and running, we have to invest in. Not saying y'all, we have to invest in them in order for them to be successful.
I mean, that's the problem right there, though. I'm trying to pack this money in my pocket from my paycheck, and I'm trying to pack these groceries and take. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got a whole bunch of money to be investing, and I think that's what our community is crying right now about. Like, how can we make it a thing? Because it don't take much.
But even if you're not investing like with money, there's other ways, by volunteering, by making calls, by really supporting that candidate. Getting the word out, telling your friends and family. There's other ways. I mean, because we know that, but we have to tackle it. I mean, and especially knocking doors. And I think this year, coming from the 2020 pandemic, we saw where people were doing a lot of virtual because of COVID. And so a lot of the in-person getting candidates and stuff and talking to voters was kind of limited because of COVID. And so going into now, it's kind of like, people aren't the same, like, ain't doing those canvases and those doors knocking. And so we have to get back to how we used to communicate. And that's by knocking on doors and actually talking to voters and reaching voters.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, just on the nature of some of the programs, some of the platform points, some of the constituents that Democrats usually attract, I'm thinking, I'm getting the feeling that it's more low income constituents Um, I don't know, I might be wrong on this assumption, but it's kind of feeling like one of the pitfalls that Democrats might be facing is just like Paul said, the constituents that they're approaching or trying to attract just don't have as much money as some of the constituents, like some of the business owners and, you know, some of the people who benefit more from the Republican platform. Can you kind of speak to that? Is that a real challenge, or am I missing something in that?
Repeat the first part of it.
As far as again, some of the constituents and the voters that Democrats might be engaging being of more low income based on the programs that, you know, in the platform that Democrats run on.
I mean, I think we have I think we reach all voters and all classifications. But I think that what we need to start doing, we have to start talking about the issues that are impacting people on a day-to-day basis. Because I look and I say this, and again, I say this with all respect. There's issues that happen in the Black community that when they're talking on the mainstream media from the Democrats, they ain't got nothing to do with us at this point in time. And so we don't relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it's something that we relate to, you know, we got to start talking about the issues. You know what I mean? Like, you got to actually say, okay, with this community, we don't have the same things are not impacting our families. You know, like we're still fighting for, you know, the minimum wage, for instance. That should have been that's a hot topic, because again, majority of communities of colors are not making the money they are to be able to have affordable housing. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that we're talking about the issues, because it's like they lose us, and then they come to us at the, you know, and again, I'm saying this with all respect, they lose us, and then people be like, well, y'all been talking about this, and that don't impact me first. What impacts me first is this minimum wage, and me being able to get to work to provide for my family and to be able to have quality housing. Right. So we got to make sure that we're talking when we're talking about the platform, it's like we can't just. It's just like I just feel like we can't be. Our messaging is off. I just put it. Our messaging is off, and our messaging needs to be concise, because the Republicans, they get their platform. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're doing. Roll with it. Our messaging needs to be specific.
Yeah. I was just thinking about reflecting on, that's one of the reasons why we put this, we do what we do here, we put this show together, because we're trying to talk about the stuff that affects us directly a little bit more than some of the abstract things that I think that sometimes you know, people get lost in some of the bigger picture there. But you know, when it comes to being out here surviving, we got to talk about the issues. Ghost Listener 402 says that too. Says, I think more emphasis on local issues might bring more donors. Nebraska Dem platform feels too national.
I agree. We and again, we're listening to y'all, because these are the conversations that we're having. We have to focus on, yes, there's national issues happening, but we have to focus on Nebraska. We have to focus on what is happening in Nebraska, and how do we change the direction, and how do we get people in Nebraska elected to office. But not only that, how do we get the voters to vote? Because we need them to know we're working on them, because the impact is local first. I always say that. Yeah. And so I agree 100%. And we are listening. Trust me, it keeps coming up. And I will say this: I was in a meeting, I think it was in May. I was in Seattle, and I really almost got in trouble for saying this. Well, I think I did get in trouble, but whatever. So there was a White House official, and they were doing a Q&A. And I got up and I was like, you know what? I'm like, our messaging is all. I said, why we always? So I feel like we just throw something in the air, and it just whatever's good's good. Take it and run with it. I said, it's like, I feel like, you know, like I've said this, the Republicans get like their weekly playbook. Like, boom, this is what you're going to do. Talk about this week. Because when I'm traveling and I start to see commercials and I start to hear candidates speak, they saying the same dog whistle words, and I'm like,
good old script.
We call it
that good old script.
Like, what? And I'm in the middle of El Paso, and the same stuff they talking about that we see on TV in Nebraska with Don Bacon, they talking about it back there. Now this is the border's right there. They ain't talking nothing about that border down there. The border right there. But they talking about it. It was crazy. So again, like I said, we have a problem, and we have to get that messaging on target. We have to.
Yeah.
Speaking of that messaging, this is you got something, Paul?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is something that Paul has been talking about, and I definitely want to get your take on it in regards to not only people not voting, but some people in the community who are voting Republican, and the kind of the messaging. Speaking of the messaging that they're saying, and why some people are voting Republican or just not voting Democrat, is that messaging, and the fact that the messaging that they are hearing, they're only hearing it in election time. So how can you, as I guess a party, entice more elected officials once they do get elected to engage more?
And before you answer that, let me just let people know. Well, we do have Kimara Snipes coming up. We got her waiting in the wings here in a minute.
Bring
So
her in. My sharing space with Kimara. Bring Kimara in.
I'm with you. It's 8:05 right now. You're in the second hour of First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
You know what it is? Women's Wednesday. Miss Kimara Snipes in the house. And we wait for you to give us the signal, P, if we're on your time. If you want to bring
no. I don't mind sharing the room with Kimara. I love that jacket.
Yeah, that jacket is fly. That jacket is fly. I do want to
bring some color to Grand Island.
Okay.
Message.
No, Grand Island has a lot of color now. They do have a lot of color. Brown people, some black people as well. I was being funny, but yeah.
Okay.
So to answer your question real quick about that, so I'm gonna say this, and I mean, Kimara, I know Kimara might put her other hat on and say, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I vote Republican. I vote Republican."
I have uncles who vote Republican.
I do too, but let me tell you this: in Nebraska, what I'm not gonna do. How do I say this without being mean?
Baby, this is First Sky Omaha. You say what you won't say around here.
I ain't buying your vote. I ain't buying your vote. And this is a follow the money. And I'm sorry, the Republicans ain't gonna it's not getting this blackface to be their representation and attacking other black folks because then it keeps them from being called a racist. So again, that's all I'm gonna say on that one. But again, we got a problem with messaging, and we got to start talking about the issues that are impacting the communities as a whole instead of putting us into one. Because again, an issue in West Omaha is not an issue in North and South Omaha. We got to start talking about the issues that are happening because they don't we drive there, but we don't live there. You know what I mean? They don't have an affordable housing issue in West Omaha. They got apartments. They building apartments next to storage units. I mean, they just throwing them up. We got an affordable housing problem in North and South Omaha.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about the issues that are happening in our community and start talking and making change. And that's how we relate to voters instead of talking about stuff that they be like, well, I don't go out there. They be like, I don't drive out there. You'll hear people say that and they be like, what's that got to do with me? So again, but yeah.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome, Kimara. Appreciate you coming on through. Stephen Abraham is in the chat. He said, good morning, everyone. Precious needs to run for office. And I always want to bring that comment out. Also, that woman says, I like that. I like what she calls it, that woman. That woman said, I think she's talking about Pontos. I think Pontos could have won if other candidates also got the public's focus locally as opposed to the wall and other non-local issues. We talk about the GOS around here a lot, the grand old script. We hear it everywhere as well. And I feel like it works. And I feel like can we get a D script? Can we get you know what I'm saying? I mean, like a solid message that would resonate in every community. And that's because like you said, it feels too, like you were saying earlier, it feels too big. So, Kimara, what you thinking?
Even as you talk about messaging, though, there's still a formula, right? Even so, it's so interesting we're having this conversation. I'm in Grand Island right now because I have a community organizer here. I brought White Shao down here as well. And part of what we're going to be doing is research, like evidence-based research into like get out the vote strategy. And even as you talk about messaging, there's still a formula. And what it seems like people keep missing, and not intentionally, is that real door-to-door, person-to-person canvassing piece. Because if you're not getting in front of people, you are not building trust with people. And we're talking about building trust with people in communities that, again, are already traumatized. And I'll be very honest with you. Like, I have been battling like internally the past few weeks because I am disappointed, right? But it's nothing that's personal. But I'm very disappointed. I think there's a messaging problem. I think there's an intent and strategy problem. And I think there's an abuse problem. I mean, we as Black women, again, are like really the core of the Democratic vote. I've been looking at numbers from the midterms from 2010 to present across the nation. Definitely in Nebraska. I mean, voting was going up and then it just like fell off. And so we're trying to figure out what that is. But if we're going to talk about messaging, that means that we have to intentionally survey the community and find a way to do it that doesn't re-traumatize them. Because you know how many times we've been surveyed? They survey the hell out of us, but these elected officials will not come and knock on our door. And I know because I live in the hood. And ain't none of these folks, mine included, because I'm mad at all of y'all can equally get it, have come to my house. And I'm very disappointed. I was at a council meeting last week. I had very honest. Hold on, wait. I was at city council meeting last week. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I sat there for 6 hours. I know the power of being able to ask the right question. And the only person up there asking questions that I thought made any sense was Amy Belton. I need them to stop playing with me and get it together. And that's facts. Because there is too much going on out here. I lost my position on school board because of affordable housing. So you got it right. That I take it personal. And you know what my friend told me? Because I do. I have a visceral reaction to these decisions that are made out here. And I used to feel bad for that, but we need more people to have visceral reaction to this stuff that is going on out here. And we all have to find just better ways to be engaged, but it's not on the people to create the strategy to do that. It's on these elected officials, these nonprofits who say that they are doing get out the work in these communities, get out the vote work in these communities, and our party. And I shout out to Precious because she's the executive director of a party that, again, I've been involved with since 2006. I'm gonna put it out there. I had a man tell me that his people probably used to own my people from this Democratic Party. So that's what she tells it.
And that same person.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
But you know who she talking about, Precious. You know.
Oh, that same person just said, just made a comment and said, I need to be fired because I'm too woke.
So
you know I don't like
this
that.
Is also what we are dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And so I do battle sometimes like, man, why am I giving my time to people who don't even respect me? When I ran for mayor, I'm putting it out there. When I ran for mayor, my son's father was killed and my best friend. Okay. During a state central committee meeting. So I didn't show up when I found out my best friend of like 20 plus years was killed. Completely forgot about it. Right. Some man gets on there from out in Western Nebraska when I didn't show up to do my speech because I'm running for mayor. Oh, she must be on color people time. That's what we dealing with. And I've been doing this a long time. So there's a lot.
Wait.
She's not lying. She's not lying.
It needs to be spoken about. And that's why I'm saying something, because it needs to be. Because this is traumatic, because we also need support.
See, that's why I ain't in politics. I'd have tore that club up.
Let me tell you something. When it happened, I was in a room with Mike Fahey, Ben Nelson, everybody else. Didn't nobody hear what that man said to me? And if I did flip out, you know what they gonna say? There go the black woman.
Angry black woman.
They just had to say it. They just had to say it because I'd have turned that room up.
I hear you, but sometimes it's chess and not checkers. And as a black woman, I was not going to be that person in my black gown in here cutting up like that when nobody else heard what this man said to me. I understand what you're saying, but you better believe I addressed it. You better believe I addressed it. But I'm just saying these things happen. And I guess for me, like my democratic values don't come from Nebraska. My democratic values come from my mama, my grandma, my great grandpa, Shelly Spivey, who instilled this in me. And I have this thing with loyalty to a fault, clearly, right? But I do have a thing with loyalty, and I have a thing with, you know, here is a platform that's readily available as well for people to utilize to become decision makers, because that's what it's about for me, right? We need more people to be sitting at these tables where they are making decisions. So what is one of the easiest ways to get there? To be a Democrat, I can't do it as an independent. Ain't no money there, right? So we have to be honest and have these conversations. I'm glad we're talking about it. But this ain't even anything I wanted to talk about today. But I'm glad the conversation is happening. It's a lot, though.
Man, you really got my wheels turning. Like, man, shit, sisters like y'all really have to go through stuff like that in order for us to have a seat at the table. Like, is that really the best political strategy? Is that really it? And I understand, you know, Precious, you got the Democrat hat on, but you Precious from North Omaha.
Yeah.
And we're talking about us as a people with having a political strategy and trying to move something forward. And I understand it's chess and it's not checkers, but do we really have to continue to sacrifice our queens?
Just let me say this. Let me say this. This everything that Kimara is saying is accurate. I mean, I can't go into, you know, what I'm going through personally right now. But I will tell y'all this. I'll be updating the Black Caucus on it.
Okay. I'll ask you about that.
And I got some good support. I'll just say this. Your girl got some good supporters in the party. But
you talking about out of town supporters?
Out of town, in town, because what is happening right now, I don't think that, and I'll say this, and I mean, and I'll be very, I don't care, I'll be very transparent about it. I don't think white women understand that, and white men, but especially white women, the words that they use can have lasting impact on Black women. And it could be the simple word of took something from me. And they fail to realize that's something that's a target. Like, nobody took nothing from you. You know what I mean? You know, and they don't understand, like, when they're talking to other people that look like them and they're bashing or they're sending false information, and that information comes back to you, it's like you have to go in defense mode. So I'll tell people why I am the way I am. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not. But one thing I've never done is sacrifice my morals, my values, and my integrity for this party, and I never will. And I told them I will leave this party, or I should say I will leave my job before I let anybody disrespect me in the manner that I've been disrespected in. And so now I just say how I feel, and I tell them, try me. Yeah. If you feel I should be fired, bring it in front of the people, baby. Because remember, I can get a job, okay? That's what I want you to remember.
This reminds me of Bob Johnson, former owner of BET, calling for African American people of African descent, Black folk, whatever you want to call us, to start our own political party. I think that conversation should still be on the table.
I still walk around my Black Panther Party pin everywhere I go. I think it needs to be a thing again. Before we get too deep into this, Kimara, I know you got some things you want to say, but I wanted to turn the corner a little bit on this and talk a little bit about Black leadership while we guys got you on. Yes.
I'm like, get my blood pressure cup. Look at Kimara over there just moving.
You over there fanning herself? Look.
And this what we do. It's First Sky now.
This is the ongoing discussion on Friends of First Sky Omaha. We talk about Black leadership all the time. We definitely have an article that we wanted to take a look at today. We didn't get a chance to do that before you guys came on, but we will get into it. And every time we start talking about these things, I have some questions about it. And my first question is always, who is the Black leadership? Who is it, and what's going on? Is it clear? Is it what's happening? I always try to talk to Miss Juanita Johnson, put some respect on her name all the time, and try to get her on, but she always kind of avoids me a little bit. Juanita Johnson.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't really engage too much, but then I also hear, I'm also hearing her always getting disrespected every time there's a city council meeting. It seems like they always on her, even though she's trying to do the work. So when I'm thinking about Black leadership, I have questions about who's stepping up, who's self-appointed, who's stepping up, and all those things. There's an interesting video floating around about black leadership. I can't remember this lady's name, but she was like, "There's black leadership, and there's leadership. There's people that are they're appointing themselves as black leaders, and there's people that the people choose, and there's a big difference between the two of them because the people that are appointed are appointed by white folks."
Yes.
What? Oh, I'm putting this long intro on it because I want you to guys think about it a little bit, how it is you want to address this, because I know it's a hot topic. But let's talk a little bit about black leadership in Nebraska in general. Who is it? What do you think about it? And I also want to the last part of this thing too is to say, I think of y'all as black leadership in Nebraska. So please put yourselves in it and don't be shy about that. So now let's talk about that a little bit. Kimara, I want to let you, before you pass out over here, I want you to go ahead and start first.
Don't make me go first because I have to ponder.
Okay.
But I will say this. I was having a conversation with my brother Del Gines the other day, and I had to get my notebook out because I wrote it down when he said it.
Okay.
And he said there is a difference between a black leader and a black figure. Figure out the difference. And I thought that was powerful. Clearly, because I wrote it down. I thought that was very powerful. One question I like to ask people is how they define leadership. And when you do that, you get different answers. And for me, one thing I think is, and there could be a difference between leader and influencer. I think it's someone who can get people to follow them. It's just a matter of where they're taking them. But as far as who leaders are, first of all, thank you for even including me in that. I appreciate that. Precious as well. Man, y'all ain't right.
Wait.
I'm just being funny. I'm being funny.
I'm starting to feel like I didn't give you enough context, though. On
okay,
that.
Give me some more context.
A big question out there about black leadership, and let's narrow it down some. Yeah. Maybe Buddi, can you give me a little gist of the article that we were about to present on this? Just what was just the title of the article?
You talking about the Griot article?
That Griot article, yeah.
Well, the Griot article reads, "The black leadership can't behave like white leadership with a black face," which I think speaks to the whole black figures versus black leadership statement. But I think as this, refers, I think the connection locally and what's going on right now in our community is one, the resignation of Cheryl Logan. And no disrespect to Dr. Cheryl Logan, but I do have some feelings about her. When she got the job, I had some feeling about her not being from Omaha, and the fact that in her resignation letter she's talking about going home. I'm like, see, that was my point. I find that interesting. And no disrespect to her, but was she a figure or was she a leader from the community? And then also the whole cold situation. I know Precious. I believe you were at the tour, although you weren't.
No, I wasn't at the tour. I was Kimara. I was out of town, but I was invited, but I was out of town. But how I got into the story was because they wouldn't release. They didn't have neighborhoods, and the reporter did some digging and realized. So I had to. So when she called me, there was key neighborhood associations that are impacted that weren't involved and invited to the table, and that's why I made the comment I made.
Which I appreciate, because I believe in that instance, and again, this is giving context to the conversation. I believe personally you are quote unquote black leaders in the community, but in that instance, I feel like you are being used as a black figure because they came to you and they didn't talk to the people that surrounding that area. So again, that's kind of the context of black leadership versus a black figure.
Really quickly, can I add to that?
Please.
So Jamie from OPPD, I've known her for a few years now, and I actually told her to reach out to the North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance. I will say this. I did have a feeling of like during that meeting, like, okay, how did we get here? How were we chosen? Whatever. But let me tell people something. Communication in this city is ridiculous. And it is my biggest complaint, any forum that I go and talk to. Right. And what I know is that majority of these folks, as many times as I go talk to them, they still make zero effort to get in front of anybody. Right. I will say, like, I see OPPD trying to get in front of people. I actually told them about y'all because I told them I was going to put together a communications list for them. These folks don't know where to go. What they know about North Omaha? Nothing, unless somebody tell them. So I will say this. I'm still researching like the effects of coal and all this and all that. And I have some notes and things to talk about today, but they want to get in front of people. I say, get them in front of people and see what happens with that. But, again, because I do a lot of following of money and different things like that. Trying to get these folks to talk to you is ridiculously hard, and it makes no sense to me. And so when Jamie reached out to me and told me, hey, we'd like to take y'all on this tour. There's these things going on. And then the information that was shared during the meeting was actually very... I learned a lot. I'll just say that. I still have more questions and have another meeting that's going to be happening. But I'm saying, like, I see them trying to get in front of people. But again, these folks don't know nothing about North Omaha. They don't even know where to go. So it's up to us as leaders to do our due diligence to help them get in front of all of these people.
Yes. And so can I say something? So in regards to Jamie, me and Jamie have also known each other like for at least 6 years because they have done a lot. And this is why I was kind of confused of why Miller Park, wasn't included because about 4 or 5 years ago, they did Rock the Block with OPPD in Miller Park, where they go and they clean off the trees, they plant trees. I mean, they had like 200 people, volunteers in this neighborhood. And so I was really confused. I'm like, are y'all forgetting? So Jamie and I had a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, NONA, as well as Empowerment Network, and they were OPP was our host when we did our neighborhood cleanups in the village zones. So I was very confused of why people were acting like they didn't know who to talk to when we've had all these different interactions. And right. So that's the history behind that. And so, like I said, I have a good relationship with OPPD. I have not met the new CEO. I had a good relationship with the previous CEO, Tim Burke. But we have a lot of work to do. And like Kimara says, that communication piece is key. And they have to understand that I'm going to give you the people to talk to because I can't always be the person to come, and like I explained to them and they should, that again, that was a ball that was dropped and I hope it never drops like that again.
I'm going to jump into the chat real quick a little bit. Ghost Listener 402 said, notice most who Omaha says are black leaders are transplants from other cities. Also, OPPD lacks diversity, so why would they? Also, Wanda Lewis says, also, some are leaders because of the approval of the mayor, which is, I was sitting here right now, I'm looking for this video of this woman that talked about the difference between black leaders. Black leaders are people that black people choose, and blacks who lead sometimes are the ones that are appointed by the media. And the mayor and so on and so forth. So, and we know who these people are. We've talked to these people. We've had these people on the show. So, we never really had them on the show in the context of asking them about their black leadership or if they consider themselves black leaders. Who are the black leaders? What is it that they're doing? Rome's Review says leadership is doing the work that you ask others to do. And also, just to give Marianne Williams a shout out, she says, she's loving what you're talking about, Precious. Many white women are trying hard to be good allies, but too many do not acknowledge and work on their internal bias, and all of it consciously or unconsciously brings to the table. I love the fact that we have Lacey Lamar and Amber Ruffin out from Omaha. They wrote a whole book on basically unconscious bias and how it comes out in people and stuff like that all the time.
Wish I could add like 4 chapters to that.
Hey, okay. Book number 3.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna make a number 3. Get a hold of them. But
stories from black women in Omaha.
Right.
Hey.
This new book that they got out right now has a bunch of stories from other people besides Lacey this time from Omaha. They got a bunch of stories from around town. Definitely check it out. World record book of race.
I actually have it on audio.
Oh yeah.
Okay, nice.
So I can hear them say it. I want to hear them so I can laugh with them.
It's really real. I love that. I love that you're bringing that out because I definitely deal with that on a regular basis here myself. But anyway, going back to this thing about the leadership, we really got to try to figure out what that is, who that is, what's supposed to be done, what we expect out of our leaders, and the difference between the ones that are appointed leaders and the ones that the people appoint. what do you have to say about that, Precious?
So I'll just say this. I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even care no more. Like, because I don't get invited to the table anymore, anyways. So I created my own. Even being able to say, oh, she worked. She had this. She worked at the White House. She did this. I still don't, because again, I am not. Like literally, when you said like appointed by the mayor, I literally just put like 5 people literally in my head. Like, I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's an example of they go to the beat of what the mayor says, or they're scared to lose funding, or they want to be at the table with the governor, or they want to be in the room. And I don't want to be in those things. I don't want to be that puppet from the community who the mayor can just basically tell you what she wants from you, or what the governor wants from you, and then if you don't do it, you don't get no funding. And there was a comment on here. Rome's review says leadership is willing to do work that others. And I always say I'm never gonna ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
Mm-hmm.
If we gonna get in the trenches, we gonna get in the trenches together. I'm not gonna be on the talking about, oh, we'll do this down there. No. We gonna ride this together. And so I think when I look at leaders, and I appreciate being considered a leader, I feel like I'm a genuine leader. I feel that they're unapologetic. There was many years where they say you on this list, well, you can't be invited. I never forget getting a phone call for saying something on Facebook, and I was told that I needed to apologize. I got pulled in by a organization I was volunteering for, that I need to apologize because their funding was at risk. I said, well, y'all have a good day then, because I'm not apologizing for that. And then it was like, oh, well, you won't be invited. I don't want to be invited. Look. I'm like, I don't want to, because I like ratchet music. I like the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Damn, I like God too. I love church, So
they try to Kyrie you.
I'm all of it. So again, I feel like our leaders are defined basically by the appointed. And there's at times where I don't want to be that appointed person. I don't. And I don't. And I'm saying I don't want to be. I don't want to be appointed by somebody with stipulations tied to it. And I think that's what we see a lot of leaders. And then we see a lot of people are transplants. A lot of people put a big game up. They put up a good front, and then we are
talking. We're talking a little bit about, and we're gonna have to wrap this up now. It's about 8. Let's see, it's 8:32 if you believe in the concept of time. Definitely got to wrap this up, but we'll come back to it. But we've been talking a little bit about who's been the so-called leaders that are appointed by the powers that be here. We talked about a little bit about leaders that are appointing that are self-appointed leaders. We talked about leaders that we think are leaders, like you, like Precious and Kimmer here that we have with us, 2 leaders in the community. Marianne Williams says Senator McKinney is a leader. He's in the legislature and law school, takes care of his family, still makes time for kids in the community, and lifts their voices.
And he's a father.
So we can move into this idea of this separation between who the people appoint as their leader and then who the powers that be in the media appoint as their leaders, as 2 separate groups. Talk a little bit about who we think is leaders for a minute.
When you're talking about leadership, what stands out to me is what you said about, what do you expect from them? So when I think about what I expect from a leader, it's someone who shows up without excuses. Because I'll tell you what, if I show up on the bus and you can't show up, I got a problem with that. I expect people to have outcomes, not just a bunch of, fancy titles and fancy people. What are the outcomes? What's the impact? Can I see some data that shows me you actually did something? And so to me, that's what leadership is. And so, it just like full transparency as far as like Black leadership in Omaha, Nebraska. Am I all the way excited and stoked? No, I'm not. And whatever my part is in that, I'm trying to figure that out and what I need to adjust. But I also expect my leaders to be able to accept constructive criticism. If I come to you and tell you, you're doing this wrong, what I'm saying, in a nice way, because I know I have a unique way of dealing with difficult people and subjects. I do this for a living. I'm also a DEI practitioner. Okay. then I need to be able to take that, because there's a lot being done wrong in this community and we need to fix it. But the only way we're going to fix it is if we can talk about it. But if you can't even sit down as an adult and have a difficult conversation, then what we going to do? So when I think about leaders, I think about leaders who exercise that. My friend Miss Shirley tells me all the time, she's like, baby, they ain't gonna like you. And there's a lot of people don't like Kimara Snipes, and I get that. And I'm cool with that, but you respect me because I get stuff done. I'm blunt. I'm Shirley Snipes' daughter. And y'all better be glad I ain't Shirley Snipes, because she was super blunt. I do say what I'm thinking. I do say when things are wrong, and it's not always easy. So and that's the problem. I want to say one more thing. When you talked about what was happening, what happened with me with the party, one of the things I did after that was introduce a resolution to the party. And I told them, y'all need to make sure anybody who runs for office goes through diversity training. The SCC needs to go through it every 2 years, and the executive committee needs to go through it every year. The first training they did, that same mofo who said that stuff to me, they said he sat up there and talked through the whole thing.
And called it,
So we also got to stop creating resolutions and putting stuff on paper, put some action to it. And regarding the race being a social determinant of health with the county, my county commissioner, because I've been on his butt, and he responds to me all the time now. He got a meeting set up for me with their DEI people. And if y'all want any questions asked, let me know what they are and I will ask them.
Okay. We might need to speak to Jamin again.
I just want to say, and he called the training, I got it by email. I had somebody send it to me. He called it intellectually bankrupt.
You talk about itself. That's projection right there. So we're gonna move on and let you guys get on about your day so we can get on back to the thing. Yeah. I will say this though, we especially people our age, a little older than these young voters that are coming out. Young voters are thinking a little differently about leadership, I think, than sometimes we do. We come from an era where we have a central figure sometimes, and even the Black Lives Matter movement taught us that it's not about a central figure anymore. It's about groups and groups and groups and many people leading. And so when I think about that, I think about how young people think about leadership, and they think about it in the sense of it being a movement more than a person. And so that sometimes that makes me wonder what's the movement out here, rather than really kind of focusing on the people, even though a lot of the help and a lot of, like you said, money funnels in sometimes to these individuals or these individual organizations, and they or the church, like we were talking about one time. There's if you don't go to church and you don't go to city council meetings, you don't even know that there's money available. There's all these kinds of things happening because there's not enough of this group leadership happening. So when I'm also thinking of that too. When we talk about our Black leaders, we tend to our mind goes right to individuals, but that's not really how things get led these days. So how do we as a group decide, figure out how we can lead each other? We can have a culmination of many minds and voices pushing us forward and moving forward. So that's something for us to think about and maybe get back to on another time, another day. Yeah. This is the last day that we're with you guys during this season. I'm going to put it out there right now. Just put y'all on the spot. Please come back for next season.
I will.
Okay, good.
Can I just say one thing before we go? I also could piggyback on what Kimara was saying. A good leader also knows how to apologize when they're wrong, and accept the challenge to make changes. And that's something that I live by this. If I'm wrong, you get more respect by saying, you know what, I was wrong on that one. I apologize. Let me make that change. And I feel, and that's something that I've learned over the years. Like, apologizing but only apologize if you truly mean it and you're really going to work on it. Don't just apologize just to make it good. No, apologize and really mean it and make that change. And that's something that I've learned over the years. And I feel like I've become a better person of acknowledging when I'm wrong. I was wrong on that one. Let me fix this, And
It's just grown though, you know.
yeah,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
I just think we you know, in the world we're in now, and as Black women, we have to continue to uplift each other and don't hate on each other. Uplift each other, talk to each other, say how you doing. You know, when you see a Black woman, I saw a woman, I kept smiling at her, she wouldn't smile at me. Finally, I went to her, I said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Because every time I see you, I smile at you, and then you just kind of give me this frown." And then she told me, "I'm just a little stressed." And I'm like, "Well, here, let me help you out, sister. You know, like, let me give you some advice on this." But we just have to learn how to be more accepting of each other and acknowledge each other and work out our differences. Because again, if we're not for each other, there's a lot of people against us.
I love that.
Mhm.
Appreciate you both. Thank you very much. We definitely have to get into a little bit of news about Dr. Cheryl Logan. We already talked about it a little bit. Kimara,
Yeah.
you've been on the board. There's people in the chat that wanted to hear from you on that subject. Did you have anything you wanted to leave us with on that?
You know, I would tell you this, like I told the news last night, I think it's interesting. I'm in Grand Island where another Black superintendent has decided to leave.
Mm.
And me and Dr. Logan have not always agreed, for sure. But I think that Dr. Logan, you know, she knew what to expect with me. I was Kimara from the gate, and everybody knows what Kimara stands for. Kimara's always going to stand for community first, period. So we didn't always agree, but I also understand her position as a Black woman, being one of the few in that space within the state of Nebraska. And I know what it's like, if we're going to say a leader, right? It's very different being a Black leader in South Omaha than it is for North Omaha. And I know that alone feeling. I know the bias that happens. I know the attacks that happen because I have been attacked. You know, I don't share it, but this has happened. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I recognize that. And I think the question that I'm wondering is, why do people who do come here, professionals, whatever, leave? And I think about my own family. You know what I'm saying? My mama's sister just sold her house last year and got on up out of here, went to Texas, a very conservative state. So we need to have the question of why people don't want to stay.
That's funny.
You know,
That's funny you say that too. I'm from California, and I moved out here, and this is the most segregated place I ever lived. And I used to say back in the day, like I would never when I was in California, I never moved to Texas. That is never the kind of place I would ever go. I'm never going to a death penalty state. Blah blah blah. To Texas be looking now that I've been here 12 years, I'd be like, Texas don't look as bad.
My brother just moved to Texas from Omaha. There's a lot of Omaha transplants
But
in
I've always
Texas.
been scared
Bro.
too. I've been so scared too, y'all, because I've been scared. I'm like, I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to be. They're like, girl, you're not a criminal. You can still move there.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, well, look, and then somebody was like, well, you know, Nebraska, our governor is trying to put people to sleep here. Let me jump to this real quick. In our chat, you said that your daughter had the honor of having 3 Black women on her diploma.
Yes.
Now, okay, that's what we can say what we want to say about these leaders, but that's heavy.
It was.
That's
I looked
heavy.
at it. I looked at it again the other day, and I was like, Taylor has Dr. Logan, Dr. Colette Nero, and Dr. Shavonna Holman all signed on her diploma. I said that'll never happen again. I it's sitting up in my office. I said I want her to remember that you had those 3 Black women, and I love Dr. Logan. You know, I love her. When I was in DC, I made sure, you know, I made connection with people that she worked with, didn't even know. It was like, who's your superintendent? I'm like, Dr. Logan. Oh, we used to work with her. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, sometimes we got to understand, like, why, like Kimber said, why do people leave? Why do they come and why do they leave?
Look, we've always said that they put the blame on her for everything that's wrong with OPS. She's always had this huge pressure. We was always been on that side of things with her, and I'm not surprised. We couldn't be surprised. She got caught looking for another job a few months ago. We knew that.
Yeah, she did.
But she knew. But once she knew that board was batshit crazy, she sure didn't take it.
I want to point out one thing too. COVID happened. Let's remember that.
True.
And Douglas County wasn't even as prepared as OPS. And when we talk about leadership, I will say that she led during that situation. There were school districts across this nation.
Even OPS had to acknowledge that.
She followed the science, and she said follow the science. Yeah. And that's what she did. And I think because she did that, I think people pushed back on her. But let me tell you, she didn't let them bully her on that one. But yeah, I'm not gonna hold y'all time. Kimara's always good being on here with you.
Let me see your shirt. Oh my mama, I almost wore mine today. I just put it back in the closet. I'm like, ain't this something?
Nah. That's hilarious.
Sometimes we got to remind ourselves.
I put it up. I sure did. I said, no, I want to wear that. That's
where y'all get them from? I need one too. What's
Christmas in the Village.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's a young lady named Sharita Green. She does them all. She does hats. She has duffel bags. I'll send you her link, Paul. She real cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on through, Precious, for the last visit with you during this season. So when we're back in January 16th, I believe it'll be a Monday. So January 18th is when we'll see you again.
We'll have some stuff. Y'all have a good one. Y'all be blessed. Have a good holiday. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever y'all celebrate. Look.
Happy holidays.
Just be safe.
All of that.
Be safe and don't break the bank for these kids because they spoiled already.
Hey.
We in a recession. I ain't got no money anyway.
That part.
Look, you got lights, gas, and heat. You better shut up.
I put money to the pack. It's called the packing them groceries. That's the pack.
Man.
Yeah, and I'm about to be funny. And to those who got them PEBTs, good looking out, y'all.
Hey.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Yeah, peace. Before we let you go, Kimara, give us a word on what's good in the hood, real quick.
Oh man, jeepers creepers. Well, I'm in Grand Island this week, and so I brought along our newly hired civic engagement strategist statewide, Wyshell Davis. So she can really get the experience of like actually working in rural communities. This week, I'm helping her and our community organizers with some goal development. Some training on like how to manage programs. We're also going to be diving into some research, like I said, into like get out the vote strategy and all of that. But when in the future, I did go that OPPD tour. I did go and talk about the affordable housing stuff, listen to all that streetcar stuff. So there's a lot going on in Omaha right now. So whenever y'all get back, we can continue the conversation, but I'm just excited to dive into this strategy this week and really, really set some attainable goals when it comes to this work in this state. I'm excited to give Wyshell the opportunity, something that even though she's been doing this work a long time, the opportunity to kind of allow her to level up. Because for me, being someone who works and manages people, to me it's about development and giving someone the opportunity to really grow and build their transferable skills too, because Wyshell may not always be with us, but whenever she does go somewhere, I want to be able to say that we were able to contribute to some serious development. So I'm just excited to have a team and get down to this work. So
love it.
Yeah. Speaking of Black leadership, that's always a good sign of a leader is how they prepare others and train others up and even prepare somebody to replace them. So that's definitely a sign of a good leader. I'm glad you mentioned the housing stuff. We started to show off with that, and I know you said you spent 6 hours at the council meeting. Just real quick, yes or no? Are you excited about this affordable housing plan?
To be honest with you, I don't get excited about any plans because it seems like what happens is people create these plans, they end up in a drawer somewhere. Okay. I am excited about the content that's in it, and I appreciate all the hard work that's been put into it. I want to hear more about these 4 components that they were going to be talking about pulling out of it to make it so that they could pass it. But again, Crank, I do take it very serious. Y'all have to excuse me. That's Wyshell right there. I thought it was
old school ring. That old school ring on there.
I do. I need to be able to hear my phone. I need to be able to hear my phone.
You got a rotary phone in that hotel room?
But oh gosh, what was I gonna say? I do take it serious. I literally had to move because of affordable housing. Mm-hmm. And now, and I mean, it does sound like a brag, but the school district lost out on what I think was a very good, board member because of that. And so, and it does still kind of hurt a little bit when I went to school board to speak Monday night, just being there, I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much I missed it, even though I knew I did. But I am excited about it. I thought that Jewel Rogers, she spoke that day too, and I thought that she was very powerful in what she said. she brought she took part in the Spark CDI developer program that they did. And she was talking about the need for them because they have an implementation committee. And so this is where I think our involvement is important, because like I told them, they need people in this committee who are familiar with housing justice and not only familiar with housing justice, but understand how it really affects us. And that's the reason why when I spoke, I knew people would bring numbers and data and all of that, which was really great, but I wanted to bring a personal component because it is personal and people need to understand that people are affected. It's not just bad people. There were some people that got up and spoke that day. You might have seen the picture of me and Manny, and it was funny to look at. But this man, he got up there and he talked about, government overreach and all these things. And his example was when they came in years ago to make them do something about lead paint. There are people walking around here who feel like that about us, and so it's very serious and it warrants all of our attention. And affordable housing isn't just an issue here. I was speaking with someone yesterday who's doing some real organizing around conservation, and they have a broad definition of conservation, and affordable housing is a part of that. And so there's issues out here where I'm at in Grand Island as well. So I guess I say that to say that, one of the ways to really affect policy, you have policy, but you don't really affect policy without the organizing piece of it. And so these are things to organize around and get people involved, especially like at the neighborhood level, which I'm always going to go back to.
There you go.
That's what's up. Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and all the work that you do, and even when you're out of town, you come on through to the show. So yeah, again, just really appreciate all of the things that you do that I constitute as leadership. Because
I appreciate that. So, don't forget there's a Kwanzaa celebration on December 28th at the Essential Gathering Place at 6:00 p.m. And I will send you a link. And I'm trying to do better with also kind of when I go to these meetings, like, posting about it on Twitter, on my Instagram. So y'all can always follow me at East Omaha Z too. So
There you go.
All right.
Good. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
All right.
And,
see y'all later.
See you later. Have a good one.
Peace.
Let's take a quick break, y'all. It's happening over here on First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers. I definitely feel like you guys feel like I'm glad I got up this morning, got to hear from our leaders. That's what's up.
Man.
We appreciate that very much. Stay tuned. We'll be right back and jump into a couple more stories before we get to the haps. For when you're listening to First Sky Omaha. That's all I can say about it. So there
in the morning.
Put that Luther Vandross on it though this time. In the morning.
Hey.
A little earlier. That little R&B you did there. It was hot, buddy. You got me going now on that. Slow jam.
Like that.
Quiet storm. Right back. Welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. All B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, all of you ghost listeners. Appreciate everybody that's here. This is that picture that Kimmer was talking about that had us cracking up. This man man, he's shaking his head, and Kimmer looking at him like, did this man just say that?
He's like, this fool.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
classic. This is the picture of this is the 2022 classic. It sums up 2022 right here. I love it. It's the best picture ever. Yeah, welcome back. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, everybody's giving them some props on that too. Also, that woman in the chat says, "Side note: I think it's very important to support Dr. Nero. My son goes to North. I was worried about the new leadership, but she's wonderful. It's good to hear. Very
Is
good to
that
hear.
is that who replaced Brother Man Haynes?
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess so, huh? Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll definitely see what's up there. We'll always be talking about this. Early in the chat, Pop says, "I love Texas too. It felt less prejudice than I have in Omaha." Wow.
Again, a lot of Omaha people down in Texas.
Wanda Lewis says one reason they leave is because they walked into a dictatorship. One of the reasons they reach out of state, they don't want anybody historically connected. So they be looking for people out of state for that for strategy reasons.
Oh yeah.
I feel the same way that woman says, "I'm so glad woke up for you too. Please be good yourselves. You are appreciated. You are appreciated and needed." So that's what's up. Thank you very much again for Kimara and for Precious to come on in, put some respect on their names for sure. She says, yeah, that's she replaced him with son's freshman year, so I was nervous. Turned out to be all right. Sounds like okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill.
Big time, man. Let's do a little lightning round and then wrap up the day here, man. It's already 8:55 if you believe in the concept of time. That is.
Man. Actually, speaking of the concept of time, let's just go ahead and kick off there. NPR has actually a series of surveys and articles coming out in regards to our perception of time, and especially in the era of COVID. According to Ruth Ogden, who was a psychologist at Liverpool John Moores University, has done a series of surveys around the world looking at how time has been perceived. And her own experience says that her perception of time has been distorted, and through her survey she found out that the results underscore just how variable our sense of time can be. It can be altered by emotions, social satisfaction, stress, mental engagement, and even our culture. Ogden explains time is incredibly flexible and we all experience it in different ways. So I did find that very interesting, that one of the chat chimers earlier this morning said, this week has been it's been a long week. For me, it's kind of going by very quickly. So again, we always say it very jokingly, but there is some truth to our statement of if you believe in the concept of time. Again, time is very, very fragile, which is why we cherish the time that we spend here on the show, and try to make the most of it with the conversations that we have. So again, appreciate everybody who embarks on this and spends their time with us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
And we not joking about that. Ain't no joke when we say it. It's a
it's real.
Very, very real concept. Brooke says CP time. That was really messed up what they said to her.
Yeah.
Boy, I would have tore the club up if they'd said some mess like that. White folks don't say CP time, color people time, none of that.
None of that.
No need to come out you. Don't even need to be thinking about it at all. That's nothing.
Yeah, might end up in Lacey new book. Man. But also keeping it moving in our lightning round. Speaking of COVID, apparently COVID-19 has been on the rise in hospitals in the Nebraska area. Both COVID-19 and influenza are rapidly on the rise, which is causing doctors to warn about what they're calling the big three, or the triple threat, if you will. Again, a respiratory syncytial virus, or also RSV, has remained at high peaks. Again, especially there's been a lot of youth RSV cases in the Omaha area. So again, please be vigilant and please be smart as we go out and do our holiday shopping. Just move around in this holiday season. Please be wary. Again, COVID-19, the flu, and RSV are very, very prevalent at this time. So wash your hands, wear your mask. Just be smart. So there is that. Also, of being smart, please pay attention to what's going on with the student loan cases. Again, if you received an email saying that your student loan was processed and you will be forgiven if you apply for that student loan forgiveness, understand that was an error. Again, no real decisions will be made until these court cases are decided. Again, Nebraska being one of the 5 states suing the Biden administration in regards to this whole student loan relief plan, and again, that wrapping up this whole situation in court. So until a decision is made in that court case, or that not necessarily trial, but that hearing concludes, then you actually should be expecting some emails. But again, for those of you who did receive emails that were sent out between November 22nd and 23rd, again, that was a vendor error. There was actually an email that you should be receiving saying, due to a vendor error, you recently received an email with a subject line indicating your application for the one-time student loan debt relief plan had been approved. That subject line was inaccurate. So again, if any of you received that email, it's false. It's false. So yeah, sorry to get your hopes up.
Yeah,
sorry
man,
to get your hopes up.
Hopes all the way up on that.
Man. But also finally, to wrap up our lightning round, Governor-elect Jim Pillen, Pillen, as we like to call him around here, hitting the ground running as our new governor, and he will be selecting, filling the leadership position. Speaking of leadership, two very important positions, the Department of Health and Human Services, including Director of Children and Family Services, which is one of the main really services or state departments that we've been looking at in regards to the St. Francis Ministry situation and just the overall handling of the state's child welfare cases. So again, Pillen naming a director for that. We'll be looking out to see what job they do. I believe Dr. Gary Antone, who's Nebraska's chief medical officer and Health and Human Services Public Health Division director, is leaving the state to join an Omaha-based nonprofit, so he will be replaced. And then also, Pillen did name Charity Manafee as the new public health director. Manafee is currently the division's director of operations, so they will be hiring from within. So again, some movements happening, but definitely we will continue to keep a magnifying glass on Pillen as he makes his transition into governor of Nebraska. But that pretty much does it for our lightning round.
Right on. Sounds good. In the chat real quick, T. Ren says outside candidates will never have the skin in the game as those here are ready and committed to the communities in which they grew up. It's easier for transplants to pull stakes.
Yep.
And I also wanted to share this that we didn't share when we were talking about it. They actually put what the salary was for Dr. Cheryl Logan up on the screen, as you can see. One of the ways they entice people from out of town. If you're going to have a base salary of $329,000, you might be looking at a job in a relocation. And pretty interesting figures there. $516,016 and $618 total compensation. Big job. Big pay for the job. You have to reach out for national talent when you got a job with a base salary this big. Not a lot of people in town may qualify. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But there is something to be said about that. But I also agree. Maybe you're here for the check, and not gonna say that about Dr. Cheryl Logan. Not gonna say that about her. But if that's the kind of money they're offering and they're looking for national talent, that's got to be a factor in when the person chooses to be in that situation. And when they come here in that position, they're choosing to be a leader in Omaha, period. So hopefully there's some people in town who, like you said, got skin in the game, already here, committed to the communities, and so on and so forth, that can rise to the occasion of qualifying for such positions and go ahead and lead. So that's something to consider and think about. Also, that woman says, I know child cares around the state that have 10 children absent due to RSV, flu, COVID, and some unknown virus that's hitting hard. Providers sick thanks to kids coming in sick, giving it to everyone. Be careful out there. Be safe. It is on the rise. I read an article about about the wastewater, which is when they test wastewater. It's on the rise in the wastewater. And when they find it there, it's like 10 days out. They have a little window there where they can warn you in 10 days it's going to hit hard. And that's what they're saying is happening now. Rose Reviews, Mayor Sanchez giving us a little bit of good advice before we get out of here. 2023, the year for you to mind your money. Get on a budget, apps, envelopes, Excel sheets, whatever it is you need to do to keep track of what you spend, what you can save, what you can invest, and so on and so forth. So shout out to Mayor Sanchez for reminding us that on this Follow the Money season, we're one day short of. Wanda Lewis says that should be an insult not to look within your own state. That woman says, if I was open, we'd be masked again. Yeah. So wear your mask, man. Take care of yourselves for sure. That's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and let Buddy wrap it up. You got any words for the people?
Man, again, one last episode in the season. Big shout out to everybody on the ride with us. Of course, a big shout out, much love and appreciation to Precious McKesson and Sister Kimara Snipes for stopping by and speaking with us. We appreciate them as always. Looking forward to their return next season. But yeah, appreciate and love everyone in the chat, letting their mind be free, letting their voice be heard. Again, as Brother Rome's review is reminding us, let's get on it. Let's prepare for the next year. Again, as I'm saying now, mind your business and business your mind. So let's get creative. Let's make some things happen. And yeah. Until Friday, take care of yourselves. So Paul B, go ahead and take it away.
Right on, Brianna Full. I'm sorry that we didn't get to you. I definitely wanted to ask you about your comments now that you're on the school board. Maybe we can talk a little bit about it Friday. But look out for us to do a little collaboration work with Brianna Full in the season to come. We talked a little bit about having some more young folks on. Well, let's start with some ones that are doing some things. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Stay tuned for that. Expanding the women's influence here on the show, which we are all the way behind women in power, women leading things for sure here, and we're definitely with it. So yeah, we're going to continue that on next season, and I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to what's going on next season for sure as well. Pop says thanks for another great show. See y'all on Friday. Happy 40th, Brooke. Yeah, my sister turned 40. That's what's up. That's right. Welcome to the club, Brooke. That's what's happening. Leah Keiser says, thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate you both. Thank you very much. It's really appreciate everybody who chimes in. We can't have this conversation without you, so we appreciate you too. That woman says, great show. I wish everyone wonderful week. Drink water, direct your money, be good to yourselves. You know that's Miss Erica Felt saying that. So thank you very much for you coming on in on YouTube and giving us those words of wisdom. Appreciate that very much. Thank you for everybody that's coming on in and sharing this with us, and I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the Umaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. I appreciate our elders for allowing us to speak before them, and I appreciate all of you, the Chad Chimers, for allowing us to speak with you. Thank you very much for being our co-hosts on this show and deep diving on some of these subjects, figuring out the language for us to go battle what we need to battle when it comes to news and when it comes to things that's happening in our neighborhoods that affect us. That's really the goal here. So we couldn't do it without you. So we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. We will talk soon, which will be Friday. It's supposed to be cold here in Omaha. So get watch out for that. Check on your loved ones, all that good stuff, and take care of yourselves. Keep the heat on, like they say in Minneapolis.
Man.
Yeah. Brr. We'll see you Friday, y'all.
Peace.
By the way, Van Glorious. This is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroad, with the key.
By any means necessary.
Like Wanda Lewis said, all skin folk